the most famous historical figures you've never heard of. Hey history buffs and curious minds, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving into one of my favorite topics, the historical figures who changed the world but somehow got left out of your textbooks. You know all about Alexander the Great, Cleopatra, and Napoleon. But what about the woman who discovered nuclear fission only to have male colleagues take the Nobel Prize? Or the African emperor who was richer than anyone alive today? Or the man who saved potentially billions of lives but whose name you probably don't recognize? These are the shadows of history, people who altered the course of human events but somehow slipped through the cracks of our collective memory. By the end of today's video, you will have 10 new fascinating historical figures to drop into conversation when you want to sound smarter than your friends. Let's jump into the forgotten faces of history. Forgotten Geniuses 1. Hedy Lamarr, Hollywood star and inventor of Wi-Fi precursor. When you think inventor of wireless technology, you probably picture some bearded guy in a lab coat, right? Well, think again. Hedy Lamarr was one of the most beautiful movie stars of the 1940s, and she invented the technology that would later become the foundation for Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, and GPS. Born in Austria in 1914, Lamarr fled her Nazi-sympathizing husband and made it to Hollywood, where she became a major star. But at night she worked on inventions. During World War II, she developed frequency hopping, a method to prevent enemies from jamming torpedo signals by having radio guidance systems jump between frequencies. The US military initially rejected her patent but secretly adopted it years later. It wasn't until the 1990s that she finally received recognition for her groundbreaking work. So next time you're scrolling through Instagram, thank this glamorous genius for helping make it possible. 2. Lise Meitner, the mother of nuclear fission. In 1938, physicist Lise Meitner made one of the most significant scientific discoveries of the 20th century: nuclear fission, the process behind nuclear power and atomic bombs. But you probably learned it was Otto Hahn who made this discovery, right? Meitner, an Austrian Jewish physicist, had collaborated with Hahn for 30 years in Germany. When the Nazis came to power, she fled to Sweden while Hahn stayed behind, working remotely like a 1,930-second Zoom call but with letters. Meitner explained the puzzling experimental results. Hahn had found uranium atoms splitting when bombarded with neutrons. She named the process nuclear fission and calculated the massive energy release. But when the Nobel Prize was awarded in 1944, only Hahn received it. Meitner was overlooked, becoming what many call the most significant woman scientist ever to be denied a Nobel Prize. Einstein called her our Marie Curie, yet history nearly forgot her. In 1992, element 109 was named Meitnerium in her honor, but that's little consolation for losing her place in history books. 3. Jagadish Chandra Bose, the father of radio science. Years before Marconi was credited with inventing radio, Jagadish Chandra Bose had already demonstrated wireless communication in Calcutta. In 1895, transmitting radio waves that rang a bell remotely and exploded gunpowder from a distance. Born in British-ruled India in 1858, Bose faced intense discrimination. The British administration paid Indian professors just 1/3 the salary of their European counterparts. Rather than commercializing his inventions, Bose made them freely available to everyone. His contributions extended beyond radio. He pioneered the study of plant physiology, inventing a device so sensitive it could record plant growth at a microscopic level, proving that plants respond to stimuli and demonstrating similarities between plant and animal tissues. Despite publishing his radio research in international journals, the Western scientific establishment largely ignored his contributions. Today, IEE, the world's largest technical professional organization, recognizes Bose as the father of radio science, but how many of us learned his name in school? Hidden rulers and leaders. 4. Mansa Musa, the richest person in history. We hear a lot about modern billionaires, but none of them come close to the wealth of Mansa Musa, the 14th century emperor of the Mali Empire. When Musa made his pilgrimage to Mecca in 1324, he traveled with a caravan of 60,000 people and 12,000 slaves, each carrying gold bars. 80 camels each carried 300 pounds of gold dust. Musa spent and gave away so much gold in Cairo that he accidentally crashed the gold market, causing a decade of inflation. His wealth primarily came from Mali's abundant gold and salt resources. Under his rule, Timbuktu became a center of education and trade. He built schools, mosques, and libraries, turning the city into one of the world's intellectual capitals. Modern economists estimate his fortune would be worth approximately $400 billion today, making him possibly the richest individual in human history. Yet he's rarely mentioned in Western history classes. 5. Queen Amerinus, the one-eyed warrior queen who defeated Rome in 24 BC, while Augustus Caesar was building the Roman Empire. A fierce, one-eyed queen in ancient Nubia, modern Sudan, was preparing to give Rome one of its few major defeats. Queen Amerinus ruled the kingdom of Kush after her husband's death. When Roman forces invaded her territory and enslaved thousands of her people, she personally led her army against them. Contemporary accounts describe her as a formidable warrior who had lost an eye in battle. In a stunning campaign, she defeated the Romans, captured the strategic city of Aswan, and decapitated a statue of Emperor Augustus, burying the bronze head under her victory temple's steps, the ultimate ancient insult. Augustus eventually negotiated peace with her, exempting her kingdom from the taxes other Roman territories paid, a rare concession from Rome. Archaeological evidence confirms her victory, including the excavated bronze head of Augustus found exactly where ancient accounts said it would be. Despite this remarkable achievement against history's most powerful empire, few people know her name.